Hi everybody, Keith Hafner here from Ann Arbor, Michigan. I'm the author of the parenting book, How to Build Rock Solid Kids. You know, if you've been a parent for any amount of time, you know that a lot of times it's a struggle between the parents and the children over who has control. Kids are hardwired to challenge the authority of their parents, and that's not a bad thing because we do want to raise kids that ultimately grow up to be self-reliant and know how to stand on their own 2 feet. Sometimes it becomes an issue, though, of how that control is relinquished, and sometimes the kids want to have more authority and more control than they do, or than they're getting at an early age, and parents, I think, have to be ever vigilant when it comes to this. I think smart kids don't challenge parent authority in a confrontational way, in a sudden way, because they've maybe tried that and found that it doesn't work, but here's what they do. They've learned how to challenge that authority gradually. And smart kids will learn how to sort of set up a dynamic where they're almost on a peer level with their parents. And I think parents sometimes have this happen to them so gradually they're not really aware of it. And I want to talk today about one of the main kid strategies for eroding by imperceptible gradations this parental authority. And it's through arguing. Lots and lots of parents have allowed themselves to argue with their children over things that should not be argued about. You know, your kids are smart, and they will suck parents into arguments, and what it does is it really puts them on a peer level. Think about this for a minute. Think about if you had a military background and you visited a military base and you walked into a room and there was a private and a general engaged in a heated argument. That sounds funny, and you know that would not be happening. That general would not argue with the private. He knows there's no reason to, and he would also be a bad general if he were to do that. But I think a lot of times parents have kind of lost this battle by developing the habit of arguing with their kids. Well, here's your way out. Just don't do it. I know it sounds simple, but just refuse to argue with your children. And if you found that, if you look back and see that you've got a history of this and that the family is kind of in a pattern of daily arguments over minutia, over the small details, here's what I suggest you do. Go to the kids and say, "Kids, I think I owe you an apology." And that'll get their attention. And you would then proceed to say, you know, I'm in charge of this family. I've got a sacred obligation to run this family using my experience and my intelligence. And I think I've been a little bit remiss by allowing this family to slip into the habit of arguing. And I just want to let you know that we're on a new program now. And we're going to retrain ourselves so that we don't argue. Here's what we're going to do. From now on, when I see an argument start to develop, first of all, I'm going to close my mouth, and I want you to do the same. And if you keep on arguing, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to give you a little signal, a little warning to remind you that we're on a new program. And we're going to go through a little period here of retraining ourselves. But once we get beyond that, I want you to understand that arguing constitutes bad behavior. And you know that in our family, all privileges are based upon good behavior. So we will retrain ourselves and come out on the other side of this happy and productive. Then begin your new program. You'll have to discipline yourselves, parents, to sometimes just refuse to argue. Just literally, if you have to, take your hand and close your mouth in order to retrain yourself in this new way of operation. It will put you in the position of authority, of kindly authority that you were meant to inhabit. It is in your kids' best interest to not argue with them. Now, I do not mean this to say that you never explain what you're doing to your kids. I think that over time, what you want to do is to have discussions with your kids. You want to explain what you're going to do, explain what you just did, but you know that this is different than the kind of argument that comes up over what you're going to have for dinner, where you're going to go on the weekends, can I go over to my friend's house, these kinds of things. So, just to recap, arguing is one of the main strategies that kids do to erode the authority of their parents. I want you to be on the lookout for it. I want you to, first of all, discipline yourself to not be a participant in arguing and retrain the whole family. I know you'll be glad you did.